not working. Hello.
Hey
What's
there.
up, how's it going, everybody? So I hesitated there because Tom and I this is week 2 with our fun new toy, which is this cool background with our names all fancy
They
and whatnot.
updated everything.
Yeah.
But just kicked out an error saying we're not live streaming to Twitter for whatever reason, which I just have never seen either. So it's just like, oh,
Wait,
God,
did we accidentally live stream?
apparently we can do that.
We're
now
live
too.
streaming to YouTube too. Wow,
Oh, well,
this is
there you
super
go.
professional.
Yeah, right. Okay, so
We got to step our game up.
yeah. So, oh man, you know what? These tools, man,
For $29.95 a month, you too can be on Riverside.
Oh man, it's awesome. These tools make it so much fun. This tool in particular, we really like. They don't like sponsor us or anything, but it is a lot of fun. This tool.
What's Tom drinking out of a snifter there?
Yeah,
So it is a very fancy sparkling water. But this was a dollar store purchase that I could not let go of because it's a ridiculously sized snifter.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Wow, I'm actually cigar right now.
I'm just drinking my sparkling water straight out of the bottle.
Oh, yeah. you heathen!
You guys are living in the dark ages.
Gotta step up our game.
Yeah, seriously.
Look, man, we could all meet up somewhere. We could head to a
dollar
Salvation Army.
Yeah.
See who comes out with the greatest drinking wear.
So
I love it.
I'm super excited here because I had an opportunity to chat with you guys beforehand. Tom is not, and I'm like, listen, I'm not going to tell you a single thing about these guys. I'm just going to let you because they're super fun, and I don't want to sort of color anyone's opinion here.
That's fine.
So with that, I'm just going to dive right in. Happy, healthy guys. I love your name. It's awesome, just as awesome as Irreverent Health, I think. But no, sorry, I digress. No, but yeah, you guys have a really cool message, and I can't wait to dig into all that. But why don't you just kind of walk us into who you guys are and how you got here real quick? It's a great story, and I can't wait to hear it again.
Yeah. No, when it's kind of funny. So we are the happy, healthy guys, but the background to all of this is we were definitely not the happy, healthy guys about 15 years ago. What would you call us there, Dr.
I would call us the fat, sick, depressed,
almost dead, riddled with cancer. Don't know what the hell we're doing, guys. That's really who we were, and it wasn't that long ago. So just so you guys know, for the audience, we're chiropractors by trade, and practiced. Heck, I was in practice, had a practice for 15 years. You probably for at least 20, but 8 years into practice, I get diagnosed with late stage cancer.
Jesus.
And they're guys, the cancer, it was metastatic melanoma, started on my back, had this huge growth, and it was just nasty, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm in denial. I'm not thinking anything's wrong. I just want it cut off. Like, I just want to take my shirt off and go to the beach or the pool, right? Because it just looked disgusting. So I go get it cut off. And within about 2 months, actually 2 weeks, I've got these golf ball sized marbles under my right axillary area under my arm.
Crap.
And then I'm like, what the heck is this? And then 2 weeks later, I look down at my liver and it's sticking out of my body. And now I'm like, oh shit. So then 2 weeks later, now it's in my stomach because every time I eat, I get sick. So now I'm not eating. So now I'm dropping like 20, 25 pounds. I've got this cancer everywhere. And they're telling me 2 months to 2 years, best case scenario. They're offering me, as you know, standard of care, chemotherapy, radiation, surgery, drug trial, and then obviously the best option, hospice care, hook you up to morphine as you die. And I'm thinking, what's option 6 here? Because none of these sound good to me. So that kind of that was obviously a pivot point in my life where I'm like, how in the heck did I end up here? I'm the health guy. You look at me and he'll tell you, this is my best friend for 21 years, my brother. I always was the guy, man. I'm always in the gym. I'm always lean. I'm always meticulous.
Hey, look, to go out to dinner with this guy, it took like just 30 minutes to be able to even get to dinner because he took so many different supplements, wanting to know what kind of oil they were cooking things in, all the things. It was kind of annoying, actually, but
it was annoying. I'm doing everything right and I'm dead. I'm dying, and I'm like, yeah, maybe something you're doing isn't actually working. So it was a real epiphany moment. Anyway, I guess long story short, we can go down that road if you want to, but I think it's an important thing to talk about because for me, it really tested my foundational belief that I really believe that, and you guys probably feel the same way, is the health is the normal here, guys, that disease is the abnormal, and that cancer wasn't making me sick. So I was already sick, and that's why I got the cancer. So going down some path where I'm treating and managing this diagnosis, which really was the symptom, I've already seen that play out. And there's not a lot of people alive to talk about it. When you enter into the system, when the claws are in and the system takes hold of your situation and you turn it over to them, it is a grave prognosis. So I ended up going into Spain is what happened, and I went a completely different route so we can go from there.
So real quick before we jump further, just because I meant to ask this when we talked before and I just didn't think of it, but you're a doctor at this point, you've got to practice, you know, you've drank the Kool-Aid in a certain degree. I don't know how far down the standard, you know, medical rabbit hole you were, but you were down it to some degree because you were operating in that environment. So you get this prognosis, like, is your gut reaction, obviously the I don't want to die part is where you go in and say, what's option 6? You're like, fuck, I don't like any of these options. I want something else. But what was the part what was your part of you that reacted that says, I'm not doing 1 through 5 and I'm going to go to Spain instead? Like, aside from the, you know, like, was your gut to be like, oh, let's trust the North Star of our medical system because I'm in that system. It makes sense to me. Like, you know, why didn't you do that?
Well, I mean, we're all taught to genuflect at the altar of modern medicine. I think that's, we're all kind of born into a medicine cabinet, if we're going to be honest. But it's a good question because, you know, there's a lot of really good people who are very smart who end up doing something different and it doesn't work out. So I don't think that maybe I was the smartest guy in the room, but I think I'd already been in practice for about 8 years chiropractically. And when you look at the foundation of chiropractic, it really isn't an outside-in allopathic model. You know, Western medicine is reductionist, it's mechanistic, it's parts and pieces, you know, that disease is the normal and health is obviously only a gift to the genetically elite.
You don't know this, but Tom is an acupuncturist.
I have my doctorate in
I'm getting a lot of
Chinese medicine.
Yeah, he's a doctor of Chinese medicine. So, like, yeah, he's I think you'll find a sympathy.
I've heard this story before. Yeah. And you know, to be honest, my first 5 years I was renting from a chiropractor. So I learned a lot from you guys, and I have a lot of respect for your field. So
yeah. Awesome. No, I have a lot of respect.
Water out of my chalice.
Snooty.
We know that's not water. We'll get to the truth of what's in there.
Well, look, you know, I normally have something else. I'm not above that.
So you're not genuflecting. Why not? What happens at this point?
I mean, I think as an early kid, I always something didn't ever make sense to me. Just looking around and, you know, and I grew up in church and we always had these huge, big church prayer lists and, you know, pray for brother so-and-so. And I remember thinking, like, I don't know that prayer is really going to work here because brother so-and-so needs to wake up on Monday and stop eating donuts and drinking Mountain Dew and blaming his genetics and praying. Now, could God heal him? Of course. But there's laws that govern the universe, right? There's laws of gravity and aerodynamics and physics. And if you jump off a building and say, God, I don't want to die, God's like, I don't want you to die either, but don't be a dumbass and break the law of gravity because now you're about to find out about physics and hard matter. Right?
Yeah.
So there's so I think for me, there was already something in me. And then getting into chiropractic school, and then Dr. Rob was my mentor as I was getting ready to graduate. He had this thriving practice. He was speaking a different language that obviously was disruptive to what I'd ever believed about health. And so I think it was the perfect storm for me, having just enough faith and confidence in believing that if I could change the environment for me, that the cancer would go away. And that was really my journey. So it just gave me the strength to ask better questions.
And what was Spain all about? Like what did Spain bring to the party that you didn't have here?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Access to a system that isn't driven by profit.
Exactly.
Yeah, you pay all cash. Now the doctor works for you, right?
Yes.
They don't work for the insurance company. So no, Spain was interesting. I could have never imagined I'd end up there. Heard about a guy there helping people. He's a medical doctor from Lebanon. Dr. Raymond Helu, and he's a cellular biologist. And his whole goal was to treat the person, not the condition. What a concept, right? So I go over there, and this is the funniest thing in the world. I got a 20-second consultation. I'd never been out of the country at the time. I fly into Spain. I'm stressed out. I'm not sure if I'm coming back alive or in a coffin. And I get a 20-second consultation for $30,000. Would y'all like to hear
the
consultation?
Yeah.
Real quick, it's only 20 seconds. So I'm sitting in a room. I'm waiting to meet with this doctor. And he literally busts the door in. And he's like, he points at me and he's like, Randy, I'll do nothing that will kill you. I'm like, well, thank God, because they couldn't offer me that in America. And he goes, now you might die, but I'll do everything that I can do to get your body adapting again, chemically, physically, and emotionally. I think it's your best chance to get well and for cancer not to come back. Here's the best part. He goes, Randy, no need for theatrics. Are you ready to get started? That was it. Consult's over. And I'm like, hell yeah, let's go. Let's go. I found the guy I could live or die with, literally or figuratively. And over the next days, weeks, months, complete recovery, no trace of cancer. And we obviously didn't do anything toxic. Everything was working with the recuperative healing powers of the body that now it was a belief then, now it's a conviction. Because once you put your belief to the test and you're proven right, it's a different level. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I didn't.
How long were you in Spain? How long were you in treatment?
Couple of months the first time. And then, and Dr. Rob was over there with me, my best friend, helping take care of me. He was actually keeping me adjusted chiropractically, keeping me out of trouble, party life in Spain, making sure I was doing everything I needed to do.
So you were trying to party while you were recovering from cancer?
Well, I'm just saying,
that's pretty baller.
You might be dead, Tom.
So you might as well go out with a bang. Yeah.
My wife is on a plane right now back from Madrid, actually, funny enough about this conversation. She's literally in the air, probably about to land.
Who is she there with?
Her company's had a summit there with people from every country that they do business in, and they met in Madrid. They have a Madrid office. So I was so jealous. She's like, I got to be in Madrid for a week. I'm like, oh, you bitch. Like, I
just lay on that grenade.
Yeah,
so
right.
Why can't we all be in Madrid for a week?
Why can't we all be in Madrid?
Man.
All right, so you're back from Spain. You're cancer free. You're digging it. What is this where we jettison the chiropractor and start our happy healthy guy journey, or do we?
Well, not quite. It was. I knew reentry into life was going to look different. That this wasn't serving me, and I wasn't able to be my best, even make an impact. Which is ultimately why anybody I would think would become a doctor or do something. You want to bring value to humanity. So I think that started the process, but wasn't sure what I was going to do with that quite yet. But the irony is, and this is why we weren't the happy, healthy guys, 15 years ago, is at the same time I'm dying of cancer, my best friend is literally dragging a leg and is severely overweight. And so this kind of, him watching what I went through inspired him, I think, or at least gave us the ability to go, wait a second. If I can overcome late stage cancer, which is nothing to sneeze at, that's a big freaking deal. I still look back, I'm like, this is crazy. I should be dead. If I can do that, then what can't maybe he do metabolically? Because that was the epiphany, gentlemen, is that every single thing you don't want in life is downstream poor metabolic function. Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, stroke, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, anything and everything is a metabolic condition. And so that's where the light started going off and we were connecting the dots.
Yeah. So the thing is, I had injured my back, ironically being a chiropractor, right? And so blew out 3 discs in my lower back, which is why I could barely walk. But I was always that person where I had to be absolutely perfect with my diet, perfect with my exercise in order to maintain a healthy weight. So even as a doctor of chiropractic and teaching our patients to do the exact same thing, I was really struggling because if I wasn't perfect, I'd gain like 30 pounds if I wasn't watching that. And so when I couldn't walk, I literally ended up gaining 65 pounds. So when he was in Spain, I'm 65 pounds heavier than I was before, and I could not walk at all. So like he said, when we were talking to this doctor there and we started learning about metabolism and what it has to do with chronic illness, chronic disease, inflammation, me not being able to walk, being overweight, all the things. I'm like, yeah, well, if he can heal from cancer, surely we can be able to heal my body's metabolism, the same bad metabolism that I fought with since I was about 13 years old. I was also an overweight, chubby kid. And so I was always dieting and exercising to maintain that healthy weight. So once I started really learning and we started studying the science of metabolism and applying that to me, the inflammation was gone. I was walking again. I was able to exercise. I lost the 65 pounds. That was 14 years ago. Yeah. And the difference now and then is I don't have to be perfect with my diet. I don't have to be perfect with my exercise to maintain a healthy weight, because now I have that fast metabolism like I wanted, or like I would see other people and I'd say, hey, that guy's really lucky, or like Randy's really lucky because he's got a fast metabolism.
Yeah, I'm really lucky. I got a fast metabolism and I'm about to be dead of cancer.
Yeah, and a body full of
but
tumors.
You look good.
Yeah. As long as you go out looking sexy, that's the only real thing that matters, right?
Exactly. I mean, you're going to bury me in a Speedo. That's
a smaller cast.
A little bronzer, you know, just to kind of make it.
You want to see the slim.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can't wait to get into that with you guys, because I'm actually.
Now I want to know what the secret sauce is.
Yeah, I mean,
that's the.
Yeah. All right, let's press fast forward. Then let's get to that, because Tom and I definitely want to get into that. Okay, so
what do we got to do? What do we got to inject?
You got your
snort. You tell us.
Yeah. Snort it, pill it, pop it. Yeah, I got it. We got a drawer full of wacky shit here. What do you need? Yeah. No, we So okay, so you guys kind of wake up one after another, and then what?
Well, then we come back. People start asking, okay, how do I heal from cancer? But the reality is, because people are in the system here in the United States, you know what? They're taught to treat symptoms, treat it with drugs, like you said, chemotherapy, radiation. And if you try to help people or cure cancer here in the United States, you go to prison for that.
Or you end up dead.
Yeah. So we're like, all right, we can't do that. Next thing you know, I'm losing the weight. Our clients, our patients are asking, what is it that you're doing? Can you help me to be able to do that? We start doing the same things for our clients. Next thing you know, they're losing weight. And I tell you what, it's a lot easier to tell people, I'm going to take 15 pounds off you in the next 3 weeks, and you're going to be able to keep it off, than it is to help somebody go, hey, you know what? I need help with curing cancer, as weird as that sounds. And so we literally were able to use helping people to heal their metabolism as really a Trojan horse to help them live a happier, healthier life, which is where the name Happy Healthy came from.
There's nothing weird about that at all, man.
I mean, like,
people are fat
society.
Now. Yeah.
We're a vain society. We all want to look good and don't care about much else. That
and
makes
people are
absolute sense to me.
Yeah. People are fat today. Cancer's like some future boogeyman, right? Like, that's why you smoke cigarettes, right? You're like, you know, and I tell my kids, I fucking love cigarettes, by the way. I haven't smoked in decades, but I fucking loved smoking. And I tell my kids, I'm like, I would smoke 5 at a time, chain smoke all day, if I didn't know for a certain fact it would absolutely kill me. So that's why I ultimately stopped. But like, for the 10 years I did smoke, cancer was like this wacky, futuristic. Maybe
so
it'll
I think
happen.
what Matt is asking is he follows your protocol. Can you go back to smoking?
Can I go back to smoking? That's all I want to know. Yeah, no, I'm not definitely never doing that. I run too much now, for sure.
Well, you know, so, I mean, listen, it came from a good place with us wanting to help people metabolically, but also you got to think from a business model. If we're going to market something, hey, come be happy and healthy, and nobody's coming into our clinics, you know? So we had to go a little bit niche there, go where the pain is. And then also we're solving a real problem, because obviously you guys are aware of the depressed, medicated, and it's not getting better. And now, you know, with all these new GLP-1 drugs, like the Wegovys of the world, the Ozempics, they're going after people. It's $100 billion on the table in the next 5 to 6 years, and they know it. So what we do does offer a real solution to a real metabolic problem. It just so happens that our stories, which got us out of our clinics, and it just kind of organically came together, gentlemen. It's just how it happened. So.
Yeah, the GLP-1 conversation we've talked about a lot.
And I've played with them. I went third party, peptide company. Please don't inject this. Wink, wink. round. You know, by the way, here's the third-party lab testing. You know, okay.
Tom's a little bit more adventurous than I am on that one, but I have not gone down that rabbit hole.
How the hell am I crazier than you, man?
I mean, I don't know. In this regard, I just haven't done
that God helmet I showed you, and you were like, "Look at this waiver on that thing."
Yeah, I just took a liquid biopsy test. Speaking of cancer,
oh my God,
I'm fascinated by this, and they fucked up because they used a kit that was expired, and they won't process the results if it's expired by 1 day. This one was by a few months, but anyway, so I now have to go back again, and I haven't gone back because I fucking hate needles. I'm such a wuss about this. I'm like, this is why I could never. Tom's like shooting stuff into his stomach. I'm like, yep, not in a million years. If this thing would keep me alive one extra day, I'd be like, nope. Like, I'm all good.
We got an interview with a friend of mine tomorrow, and she's my go-to functional medicine person, and I will text her the most random things, and I get one of two answers. Don't do that. You'll die. Or do you need a prescription?
Yeah. Go ahead, Matt. Yeah.
And that's what I base that off of.
So good. No, I guess where I was going with this was, you know, I have a client who is working with something we call the molecule, right? And it's just a very nebulous thing, right? It's nebulous for a bunch of reasons, most of which no one can talk about it at the moment yet. We're working on that part, but it is a mitochondrial molecule, but it severely, like dramatically increases mitochondrial function. And in order to prove all this in their journey through what they've done so far, about a year before COVID, maybe, probably like 2019, they came out and they realized that absolutely every single thing this molecule helps with is basically modifying metabolic dysfunction. And so when you said that on our pre-talk, it's something that really hit home to me because since then, now that they had that thread to pull on, they just pulled harder and harder and harder. And now they're basically saying, not only the reason this thing actually functions the way it does is because it's doing this metabolic function tune-up, but it's also only needs to happen because everything, like you said, every other thing is related to metabolic dysfunction.
Down chain,
at the end of the chain is always metabolic dysfunction. And I want to hear all about this, but I wanted to tee up the question in the longest way I could, to say, hey, like, what is that? You know, that like, why in your view and your experience, like, what is it about that metabolic dysfunction that could literally,
when you look at, you even break down the word metabolism, people look at metabolism and think it's just all about calories in, calories out, how fast are you actually burning calories. That's not even what metabolism is. Meta being transformation, bol is beginning of life, ism is a system. So it's a system that the body uses to be able to repair and regenerate your cells. And so we're talking about health at a cellular level. That really is what metabolism is. The byproduct of that is what's happening in the mitochondria, and it's spitting off electrons or spitting out energy, that energy needed for the actual healing then of that cell. So metabolism is huge because if the cell's not working, nothing else is working, because that's really what we are, is about 70 trillion cells, right? Trying to work together. And so if those 70 trillion cells aren't working together or they're unhealthy, you're going to have sickness, illness, disease, and all kinds of things that you just do not want. So that right there is how critically important that metabolism is just to the healing and repair inside your body. So
interesting. So what's your first, like, when you walk in a new client, you know, or a patient, what do you have to do to kind of start to crack that nut? Because this feels a lot more complicated than eat this, don't eat that.
Well, and I've got another crazy question, because you guys are spine guys, right? So, like, you know, at what point is metabolism, I guess, outweighing, let's say, like, form? Right? We know if something's out of alignment,
well,
it's got to go back in alignment.
It's all about adaptability, right? Your body's either adapting chemically, physically, or emotionally, or it's not. Stress is stress. In fact, And so in fact, the doctor in Spain was he goes, here's the thing. He goes, 10 minutes of that uncontrolled like anxiety in the pit of your stomach is just as damaging as a liter of whiskey on your liver. There is no difference. I would much rather have the whiskey than the stress.
I'd rather have the whiskey,
chiropractically, it was all about tone, function,
much
neurological integrity,
structure.
Structure equals function. So that was a big part of what we were doing chiropractically. So the transition made a lot of sense, because it's not even the doctor in Spain. He's like, listen, you guys bring bring the force to the matter, right? He goes, but I bring the matter to the force. You need both, right? Because I could jump off a building and have a completely intact, strong neurological profile, be free of toxins, and have the healthiest mitochondria in the world. There's limitations in matter. And those limitations are you adapting to your environment or are you not? It isn't any more simple than that. So our approach to metabolism, although it is more nuanced, you're right, Matt, it isn't really that complicated. It isn't really a simple approach. I would say, right? I think it's a very simple approach.
We've been able to make it simple.
Yes.
So the recipe has been complicated to be able to figure out over the last 14 years, but then we put it into really just 4 simple steps to be able to help people. The first of those steps is we've got to figure out what in the world is causing the metabolic disruption for that person. Yeah. So we've got to test. We don't guess. So we take people through a functional medicine assessment that asks a ton of questions so that we can see, okay, what in the world is going on in this person's body that's disrupting that person's metabolism? And then it puts them into a category. So based on the category that they're in, we can then give recommendations as to what foods are most metabolically healing for that specific person, exactly what nutrients, what supplements does that specific person need, because everybody's different, which is why if you put 4 people on a keto diet, for example, one loses weight, one doesn't, one gains weight, and the other one, nothing happens, it's because it's not specific, it's not customized to that person. So you've got to take a customized approach. That's the first thing that we've got to do.
Yeah, we love N equals 1 here.
Yeah, we're big N of 1 fans. In fact, we should change the podcast.
And what happened that made even all this possible, we even go back to, in 2020 when all the government lockdowns happened, we obviously had to pivot then because we were a clinical operation. We had clinics all over the country. We're brick and mortar guys. Even in the chiropractic world, we had started a company, had 19 offices. Now we had up to 9 different offices, was Happy Healthy, and went back in the lab and we're like, okay, we've got to figure out, number one, how to never end up in this situation again, because this is some bullshit. And then number 2 is let's get this to more people, which the only way to do that would be not more offices. It would be to have a virtual platform to reach people really anywhere in the world. So that is what we had to do to figure out how do we replicate our clinical results, do it in a virtual space. And that took a little time. But really probably officially in 2022, we were able to pull that off.
Yeah, it was, in literally June of 2023 is when we went off.
Yeah, thank you very much. So good, gentlemen.
Yeah. Happy anniversary, gentlemen. Yeah. So that's funny. The chiropractors must be really fucked up, Tom. You know why? Because these are the 2nd and 3rd chiropractors that we've had on this show that have had bustling careers as chiropractors and had a radical transformation of their practice.
I will say the
almost
one thing
overnight.
That I'm like jealous of chiropractors is their ability to see a need in a market, right? And then they just go in and they just hammer on it. Yeah, and they're so good at it.
I love the story, but you are literally the 2nd and 3rd chiropractors with a very similar story.
Yeah.
And he is in a very similar place as you guys in terms of like he's spreading a new gospel. He's got a new curriculum. Like he's totally different than he used to be. And
he did the whole burnout thing. The real kind of like
he lived on a school bus for a year and traveled around the country. I don't know if you could beat that, but he like I think he really needed a reset. So by the way, guys, you asked me this last time, and there was I had a scam situation going on.
How do you feel about that?
But my metabolic score on your test was a 10. So I'm just to clear that.
Is it out of 1,000? Is it
Yeah,
out of
he's like
5?
interesting, and now I'm like, okay, pause the show. What the fuck does that mean?
That metabolism is getting a little sluggish there, Matt. So that's why I was asking you, how do you feel about your 10 score? I don't want to speak for you, put words in your mouth. If I was a 10, I'd be really upset about that.
Well, Jesus Christ, Tom, you heard it here.
Matt's an overachiever. You're really upset him. He's going to be talking about that for the next month and a half.
Yeah, as I'm wearing my last. This is my I did this race in 2019. It was the last big race I did before COVID, and I've lost my wind. I got to get back to it. I have started training again for a half in April, but like I'm like, that is upsetting. Obviously, we're going to put a pin in that though. Back to that. But no,
Matt now wants a full consultation.
Yeah, now I'm like, all right, so where do I sign up? Hold on, I'm going to your website right now.
Stop record. Yeah. He'll give you his credit card information. Yeah. We're going to do it live.
Yeah. No. And you know what's funny? And just to answer your question real quick, because I'll forget if I don't, I don't feel good about that reply from you, but I also am not surprised about it based on how I'm currently feeling. So, and Tom and I have actually talked about this several times, but there has been a weird situation.
Wow.
Like insane. 2017, I think I ran an Ironman with 6 days notice. I was just like, hey, why not? Let's do that. And that did not feel strange to me at all. And I'm not saying that to be a dick or like a pompous or whatever. I actually think it's a little strange, but it wasn't strange to me. I'm like, that concept was completely normal. I'm like, yeah, this fine. I've run several 15, 20 mile runs on a whim with friends, just whatever. It just was like Tuesday, like, okay, well, that's what we're doing today. Was not a big deal. The thought, I did a 3 mile run today and I got back. Now, granted, it was like 90 degrees, so that didn't help. It was
disgusting.
But I got back and I was like, I'm glad that wasn't 3.5 miles, right? Like, I'm like, yeah, we're good at 3. I feel good. And like, that's a foreign feeling to me in my life. And by the way, I turned 48 tomorrow. So thank you. I think there's a psychological component where I'm like, oh, this must just be me getting older, which I know is full of shit, and we'll come back to that too. But like, I like, you know, when I ask questions about like, hey, why didn't the doctor and you just dive in full Western med, is because I have the same problem on the pedestrian side of that, right? Like, you know, hey, you get older, you have to stop doing stuff because you can't run. I mean, I can't tell you how many guys I know that don't run anymore because they're like, I just turned 50, I can't run anymore. I'm like, well, I turned 48 tomorrow, and if somebody told me I had to stop running, I'd probably punch them in the face. Like, I'm like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, that would be very upsetting. Like, and yet totally normal, right? Like, how many people have you seen in your careers that have said,
well, I think even more so for somebody that's in healthcare, right? They know the outcomes. Right? They're going to Google the disease if they don't know the exact number, but they know those numbers are not good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. When, especially something like cancer.
Thing
like
now
that,
is,
you know,
and we're seeing this more now. This last year really dove into just healthy longevity, especially it's one of those things. I'm 52. You start getting older, like you said, you start looking at stuff like that. And it's expected, and people equate age with sickness, illness, and disease. Like the older that I get, this is just what it is that I'm expected is going to happen. Yeah. They say the same thing, which is why, in fact, we just
that's the part I'm talking about. Yeah, exactly,
we were just in a documentary called "Your Second 50," which is we're showing people now through this documentary that, you know what, the second 50 is the real flex, is living a better life, a healthier life in the second 50 than you did in the first 50, and we have the technology now to be able to do that. We're seeing people, especially like you said, with COVID and everything that happened with that, people saw, you know, what a shit show all that was. And now they're like, all right, there's got to be a better way to do this, right? There's got to be a better ways to age gracefully and to be able to do all the things that you want to be able to do rather than literally just crawling into the grave. And so that's what we're all about, is just making sure that people know what these things are, how to do that. And that's why we love what it is that we do, because we can set properly to be able to help people have a foundation that they can just work from there. Like last year, we had our retreat was in Ischia, Italy, which was beautiful. Speaking of Europe and Spain, and we had 40 of our clients that were in there. And out of these 40 of these clients that were there, I would say probably 35 of them are over the age of 50. And when you look at them, they all look vibrant and happy and healthy because they've got a good foundation. They're not in the system that we've just been talking about, where it's just all about treating the symptoms and not getting to the cause of disease. So even though we're doing this in a different way with Happy Healthy, and it's not chiropractically, really our foundation has always been get to the cause of the problem and not be treating the symptom.
Yeah.
So the approach is awesome, but let me ask timeline here, because I know one of the big problems with most people is they want to take a pill, take a hit, inject something,
have something cut out.
Has something cut out. Like that path is pretty normal also.
Common.
Like,
it's the whole,
what do you have to tell people
are getting sicker as they get older? That's a common phenomenon. It is not a normal phenomenon. So going back to changing the way you it's subtle, but it's an important thing because our thoughts are more powerful than reality. And if you believe the normal is, hey, I'm just going to get 50, I'm going to gain more weight, I'm going to become more sick, end up on more medication. That's probably what's going to happen for you. So that's not to dilute the conversation there or take it off course.
Well, no, that's like we've talked about that.
That's a great observation there.
Your language was perfect there too, because, and I've never heard it phrased quite that way, but like that's a really keen way of looking at it.
It's the whole
it's common. Like, a lot of people,
when you look at like you show up to the scene of a fire, right, and you see the fire truck, and every time you start seeing fires, you keep seeing fire trucks. Well, you start to think in your mind, well, I guess these fire trucks keep causing all the fires. So correlation versus causation is a very important thing to understand, especially when you're navigating how you see your life and health and what you believe. I've had to unbelieve so many things in my life over the last 50 years. Really, I guess not when I was 3 years old. I wasn't trying to unbelieve anything. I was getting groomed and believing what I believe. But over the last 30 years, I've had to unbelieve so many things that were foundational, I believe, principles in my life. And so now it's so much easier to unbelieve things that I used to believe, because really almost everything I've ever been told really wasn't true. And I couldn't tell you why I believed it. So I think the mistake a lot of people make is you believe things and you have no idea why you even believe it. And you can't even explain it other than, well, that's what you've been told, or that's what everybody does, or this is common, and I see it happen to a lot of people.
That real, true, genuine intelligence isn't how fast you learn something or how much you know, but it's how quickly you could relearn something you thought was something else. And I've sort of, that stuck with me for as long, I don't know, I heard that years ago, but I mean, I find it, especially when we're on this show, there's been a couple things that we've had people on that have sort of challenged stuff I knew.
You guys are fancy.
Or knew. Let's put that in air quotes, right? Look at those balloons. Love it. Look, watch this one. Hold on.
You get some pretty cool stuff.
Hold on. There we go. Oh, come on. Is this not the coolest? I mean, what's funny is Mac didn't tell anybody that was coming, and like one day half of my Zoom calls were like, what the fuck is this? what is happening?
Part of my deck, man.
But yeah, I mean, it really has been true, like, especially when you have as many conversations as we have with different people, different practitioners. We have a scalar light therapist coming on the show. Like, I mean, I had to look that shit up myself.
I'm dubious on that one. We'll see.
But like we've had all kinds of people on the show, and honestly, most of them, if not all of them, I get off and I'm kind of like, well, this was a little crazy. This was definitely something I already knew, but there's this like whole section of usually our conversations where I'm like, let me look into that more. Cause I either didn't think to ask better questions about that, or I just kind of like took the urban legend version of it and as truth and didn't really dig in more, you know what I mean? And
well, you know what's funny, Matt, because like these guys are talking about mindset, and we literally had on recently a hypnotist, an EFT practitioner, and like at the core of it, right? It's that's all changing your belief system.
Right.
So you know, yes, you have to actually take action.
That's all you got to do.
I'm
Just
assuming to
manifest
get your
it.
metabolic pathway. You can't just think,
Yeah,
hey,
that's
my mitochondria are great, everything's cool.
Yeah, you just got to think it. Yeah,
there you go.
Have you seen that commercial for Progressive insurance, and the guy's looking out over the river and he's like, "Oh man, it's beautiful," and the birds are flying by and it's like awesome, and he goes, "Yeah, I want to enjoy it before it gets taken over." And as he's saying that, some chick behind him with a selfie stick is like, "Are you done yet?" And he goes, "And there it goes." And she goes, "I'm just at this lake that I just found randomly, manifesting abundance."
Now you're gonna make me watch TV. Damn you,
I
man.
fall off the couch every time I see this commercial because it is. Oh my God, it's so funny.
Oh, is that part of the program? I'm out.
Yeah.
I'll be unhealthy.
Yeah, I'll be unhealthy. Yeah, so I'm assuming that I don't have to just manifest metabolism, right? Like I'm not. There's got to be something. If somebody was say, I don't know, hypothetically, a 10 on.
Exactly what would they have to do?
no, but seriously, like how hard is it for people to jump in? I mean, when people come to you, are they like at death's door, or are they just
it runs a gamut? Everybody's
pissed off door, like where are they?
Place. Most of the people that do come in because they've already tried everything.
Yeah.
They've tried the Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, all the things. They've lost a little bit of weight. As soon as they stop, then they end up gaining the weight back. So they're frustrated, and they just don't want to figure it out on their own. And so we bring them in. Like I said, it's simple. We do the assessment. We show them the foods that they need to eat. They literally get this manual that tells them exactly what to do. They don't have to think about it. And these are people who are just looking for something that's going to be easy and step by step and not have to figure the stuff out on their own. It's not hard. And then the phases of the system is one is a reawaken phase. It's only 1 day, gets their body into fat burning. And then the next phase is only 5 weeks. It's their retrain phase. That's where their body's actively losing weight. 5 weeks, look at the science. In order to be able to regenerate, repair, and heal damaged cells, we need at least that long to be able to do that. And then here's the other thing, guys, is we know that you can do anything for 5 weeks, right? We're not asking somebody to do something for, 5 months.
Well, that's important because a lot of times when people need to lose 20, 30 pounds, they're thinking, oh my God, the next 6 months of my life, I'm going to be miserable.
No way.
You got it. It is just, you're already
right.
I'm going to be weighing out boneless, skinless
You've
chicken
already quit
breast.
out of the weight, and that's why most people don't
3
make it, because
tablespoons
when
of
the
white
pain
rice
of what you're doing and the results not outweighing the pain, we already know that's got a quick expiration date. And so you're going to quit. You're going to get it all back. So it's this vicious cycle. So what Dr. Rob is saying there, it's very important because that 5 weeks and starting that healing process. And here's the cool part is we're getting really quick wins with our clients. So over those 5 weeks, the average female is going to lose around 22 to 25 pounds if she needs to lose it. And the guys are getting 30, 35 or more. In fact, we just interviewed a guy, 2 days ago? 54 pounds in 5 weeks, literally saved his marriage. I mean, his wife is praying every night that she doesn't wake up and the guy dies in his sleep. And 54 pounds later, no more diabetes, no more blood pressure, no more cholesterol off all his medication. Good.
So let's just take him as a quick example. Is that all he had to lose,
a total of
or is he
122
just at the
pounds?
first block of what he's going to start doing naturally?
2 rounds of the program. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
That's another human.
So so that was what I was going to. That's the root of my question, right? Like, okay, so I get into the program, and if I don't want to read too much into this, but inside of that, I see pattern forming psychology in terms or biology in terms of how long it takes for your body to form habits. I hear a reset as obviously at that point happened. I believe, and I don't know the science well enough to know this, but it looks like your cells have kind of made a cycle around that time too. So it's like you're sort of regenerating better versions of those cells. So I see a couple of mechanistic things, but like once I'm done, I'm at 5 weeks. Does that mechanism lattice work my body to just keep going, or do I have to? And I think the answer,
5 weeks. So great question there. So the 5 weeks is where we're really getting the health of the cells strong again. We're detoxing the body in that 5 weeks. So one of the most metabolic disruptive poison is omega-6 linoleic acid. You guys probably know it as seed oil, an 18 carbon chain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's funny. That's funny because we're
seed
taught
oil
that
is
we
not
need a certain ratio.
No, I'm
of
serious.
3
It
to
is.
6,
I mean, it's
right?
been going on.
Yeah.
It's in everything. It's pervasive. 680 day half-life.
It's in fucking everything.
It's another one that if you go out to eat,
still in your DNA, in your mitochondria, in your tissue. So during that 5 weeks, our protocol, we're helping them detox from years of stored linoleic acid. 680 days. Yeah.
What the hell did you say the half-life was on that?
It's a great thing, but we can quicken the pace with our protocol to help move it out of the system quicker, because you want to get that stuff out, and it sets up shop, and it is hard to deal with, especially if you're not really conscious of removing it from your diet. If you eat out a lot, you know that every restaurant's going to cook in this nonsense.
Heck, we were at
we
were at a restaurant recently, and we said, "Hey, no seed oil."
I know, and that's the problem.
The chef said that they're not cooking with seed oil; they're using olive oil for it. And we said, "No, go look at the box." She goes and looks at the box, and it says on the box, "olive oil" in big letters, and then it says 1% olive oil. The rest of it was canola oil.
99% canola, and you can say it's olive oil, which is ridiculous. But going back to the point, that's a big piece of
yeah, why the fuck do we have rules that help that asshole put that on the box, right? You know what I mean? Like that.
It seems like a slam dunk.
We fart in the wrong room around here. We got the FTC knocking on our door. You know, it's just, God forbid.
For sure.
I'm sure. God forbid you're saying you're helping somebody, but these guys can poison people. Yeah.
Oh, it's infuriating. And that's another thing my whole family makes fun of me for. We go to my wife literally won't take me to the grocery store anymore, because we're going down the aisle, and some things she's been like indoctrinated. She like doesn't even fight the fight. I just wore her down. Ketchup is a great example of that. I used to just absolutely decimate her. I mean, in the grocery store, I'm like, what kind of Neanderthal would get fucking ketchup with high fructose corn syrup? I mean, are you fucking insane? Yeah. And she was like, "You are such a dork. I can't take it. But okay, how about this? You get a ketchup." And that's the mistake, gentlemen, because she is 9 aisles past me by the time I pick a ketchup.
He's got 20 ketchups on the floor in a circle around him.
Because I have read the label on 68 different ketchups. And then I work through a process. I'm like, all right, so here's the ones that don't have high fructose corn syrup, which, by the way, at an average grocery store, there could be 50 ketchups. 4 of them don't have high fructose corn syrup, right? Like, and it's getting a little better. It depends on where you're at. But so I have now all 4 of those going. I'm like, all right, what do I want to trade off? Do I want to trade off some sodium things that I'm pretty sure are just mild preservatives, or do I want to trade off this 18 syllable thing? I don't even know what that is. So we're going to put that one back. And it's like this very long process. And she's like, all the way at the other end of the store, she goes, "Where the fuck have you been?" I'm like, "Getting ketchup."
The first time that I actually, this was back in Cairo school, and I go to Whole Foods. First Whole Foods I'd ever been in.
So like, and
I literally read everything in the whole store. I think I was there for like 8 hours to get my groceries, because I'm reading every single thing in the store. So anyway, interesting. That's super funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but see, and the funny thing though, ingredients are funny. Like I've tried every food, like diet plan, paleo, keto, Furman. I did Furman for 2 months. Have you ever shopped or known anybody who's done Furman and gone shopping and gotten his list? We ran into somebody at Wegmans, which is like a store here. And he looks down at our cart, and I was like 90% through getting everything on the first week list. And he's like, "You guys have a farm I don't know about? Are you raising livestock? Like, what the fuck are you doing here? It was like one of everything in the produce aisle. Like we were in the produce aisle for an hour and a half, just trying to like, get leeks and rutabagas and like all this crazy shit. I'm like, holy crap. Like, and that's why we don't do this anymore.
It is confusing to the average consumer.
Effort.
And the effort on that is Herculean. It's ridiculous.
It's still a challenge if you don't know really what you're doing, because there's so many things that are out there. And of course, confusion really creates more frustration and more people who don't make any decisions. Confused, you don't do anything. But so going back then, because you asked a really important
100%.
question, Matt, about 5 weeks. We're detoxing, we're healing, we're getting fat adapted, which is kind of a buzzword where your body learns how to burn fat fuel. Then we take them into a 3-week reset phase. So there's a couple things that happen here.
Yeah.
Number one is we now want to get them carb adapted. Okay, so fat adaptation is great, but metabolic flexibility says you can burn fat or carbohydrate whenever your body needs what it needs and when it needs it. So a lot of people even get fat adapted but never get carb adapted. The classic example of that may be somebody doing a keto diet and they come back and eat a banana and gain 8 pounds because they never learned how to burn carbohydrates. So we get them to burn carbohydrates, get them metabolically flexible, and then we teach their body how to create what's called a metabolic thermostat. Just like in your home, you adjust it to where you want it to be. It's 98 degrees here in Texas, but we got it set on 70 here. Your body does the same thing metabolically. So we're able to take their metabolic thermostat, readjust it, then reset it, and make sure now that it's a zero-sum game. Doesn't matter what's going on. Your body's going to settle back in at that new weight. So that's a key piece to the back end of it. So it's a system to heal the metabolism. And then after they've laid that foundation, if they want to lose more weight, then, hey, maybe it's another round of the program, another 2-month cycle. Maybe you pressure your metabolism, see how you do. So that's kind of how that would work.
I see.
Yeah. Okay.
So this metabolic thermostat, is it like set it and forget it, or like all of our fathers' dream come true where the whole family has no access to the thermostat? It's just like one time and it's set, or is it like something you guys
once you get
play
that
with?
that,
Like,
that foundation? I'll give you an example. Like I was saying, that retreat that we had last year in Ischia, Italy, many of the people that went were blown away because they were wanting to go to Italy and they're like, okay, am I going to be able to eat pasta and pizza and all the great foods, drink all the wine? And they did. And they got back. One of the clients that we had that got back, she lost 4 pounds still because her metabolism was so much faster.
Yeah.
Another one lost 2 pounds. Another one lost 1 pound because it's been reset.
Wow.
Now, if you go back and just break all the... Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I was going to say, it's not set forever.
I
if you
have
went
a
back
bigger
the next
picture.
6 months and ate a bunch of processed food and seed oil, and obviously you can because you did things to screw it up the first time.
Yeah. Right. You stole my question, so thank you for answering that ahead of time.
Yeah.
No, that was perfect. I was going to do it after Tom, but yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask.
So then my question is here, and I'm not gonna put you guys on the spot, say you're curing anything, get you in trouble. But things like celiac, right? These autoimmune disorders, especially food sensitivities, do we see those decrease or diminish or go away in certain cases?
That do have ulcerative colitis or celiac, that their guts are now healing or healed. And obviously everything, nothing that we do diagnoses or treats anything. But once you create an environment in the body where better things are more likely to happen, the body wasn't supposed to have those things to begin with. So now they're going away. We have a lot of women that their hair is now growing back, or they're getting the color back in their hair, or their eyesight is better. Like I said, on that trip in Italy, where people were like literally standing up in this room, we were like crying because of all the different cases or testimonials that people are sharing, all the different things that had happened, which were completely non-weight related, which was really beautiful.
Yeah, so a lot of things change. Yeah, you change your metabolic profile. I always go back to my own personal testimony. I changed my metabolic profile, and all of a sudden, I'm not dead, and it didn't take that long.
That's a pretty good. That's a pretty good clinical outcome.
What's clinical outcome?
That's a really good testimonial.
That's a good testimonial.
I didn't
yes,
die is a pretty damn good testimonial.
But those guys that I was telling you about, they were saying they can't say they like when they came and told us that they found out all this evidence of metabolic dysfunction being the root cause of all these things. When they said cancer, you should have seen them. They shrunk up all their physical markers, all their voice markers, everything. They're like, and cancer too. Like they got real quiet. Like,
that's a big C.
We can't fucking say this out loud. And if I say it too loud, someone's gonna freak out. And I'm like, why aren't you on a fucking mountaintop?
You're gonna go on a boating trip and not come back. I mean, we see anybody in the alternative, holistic, whatever adjective you want to use to describe not Western medicine. If they gain some fame, if they gain some fortune, they often. There was somebody I was following on Instagram, and she just kept posting stories of these doctors that were not mainstream. Just they went scuba diving and they never came back.
I know
they
had a
little house
fishy,
fire.
right? But the thing is, and this is what we know: if health is the normal, right?
Yeah,
and that's where we have to come from. Then all you have to do is create a different environment and the body will do what it knows how to do. The body's hardwired to heal. That's all it knows how to do. So health and disease are the same stinking thing. There's no difference. The body doing the right thing under the circumstances that you've created, maybe to no fault of your own, because some things obviously but you can control a lot of it. And that's what the medical, I call them the medical cartel. They want you to, walk around being afraid of invisible viruses and germs and don't worry about what you eat. Don't worry about exercise. Don't worry about managing your stress. Just make sure that you don't get sick from these killer germs that are sweeping across the world and killing everybody as if we can do nothing about it. That's really just a lie that they've sold to us for a very long time. And too many people have bought into that and they become victims and they turn their health over to a system that is not equipped on any level to create healthy outcomes outside of emergency care. No.
Right.
Well, and it's definitely not even designed for that. Let's face it. I want a customer for life. I want you on a medication. I want you getting therapies.
And we already know you drugs to
I don't want you to have robust health because you don't need me anymore.
I was giving drugs to a sick person to make them healthy.
So actually,
it doesn't make any sense. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive for sure. Well, so Tom and I talk a lot about biohacks, and I know that.
Well, I mean, they're pretty much describing it, adjusting your environment internally or externally. Yeah,
but like, I guess what my question was going to be like, have you any experience or knowledge about what happened to somebody? We did a whole podcast on the Brian Johnson. The guy who spends $2 million.
We were at the Dave Asprey biohacking conference.
Oh, that's so funny. So
he's of course, and he interviewed Brian.
And I'm still trying to figure out if he's real or if he's AI generated.
Oh, that's right.
I was like, this guy's a robot. Yeah, totally.
He does fucking look AI generated.
He's so robotic. He reminds me of that data guy from Star Trek.
Yeah. But like that guy's got, I think he's got his health under control. Like, that guy's like,
he's still got COVID.
He's still got long haul COVID. Yeah. Yeah. Which I just can't help but to laugh at. I know that sounds like a shitty thing.
Is that Schadenfreude? I don't know.
Yeah. But like, you got guys like that who live and die by systems, right? And then you've got me who I've got this overuse injury in my left Achilles from skiing. And I've been walking, stretching, yoga, yada, yada. And I'm like literally ready to dive in on a therapy grade PEMF device because I'm like,
by a clinical grade.
It's a clinical grade PEMF device. Yeah.
Just for his ankle.
Because I'm like that desperate to get rid of this fucking problem, right? Yeah. Like, I'm like, I've tried 18 other things and it's been 6 months, 8 months. And I'm like, I can't take it anymore. Like, if I am healthy and happy, do I just don't need to like rely on these tricks and stupid little shortcuts or hacks? Or like,
we use them if we're going to be honest.
Amp this whole process up
in fact,
through,
if you know the song by George Jones, that was country before country was cool. Yeah. We were biohackers before biohacking was cool. We were using all this stuff. I was using all this stuff in Spain. Pulse electromagnetic frequency. It was an Italian machine called Papimi, using ozone. Using bioresonance frequency.
Sure.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, you can't say ozone in Maryland, man. I found a doctor that's actually doing it, but I have another functional medicine practitioner who ended up in front of the Maryland Board of Physicians several times because he was doing IV ozone. And, I actually had another patient that went to Italy and they were doing ozone on the regular. And the doctor goes, yeah, you guys won't use it there because it's cheap, doesn't hurt anybody, and it works.
They'll shut you down. I'm using hyperthermia. I'm using like molecular hydrogen. Yeah. So we've been doing these things for 14, 15 years.
Yeah.
So they are a part of an anti-aging longevity lifestyle. However, without a strong metabolic profile,
and foundation,
you're wasting.
Yeah, you're just putting spackle on black mold.
Even in the Chinese classics, they say if you don't start with diet, everything else is useless.
Yeah, right.
And that's gonna fuel your metabolic pathways.
So I know we're kind of getting that time, and I can talk to you guys literally for a week
this
straight.
Has been fun, man. We gotta get a quartet to come on.
Yeah. So listen, I got a question though. Like how hard is this? Like, I mean, Furman diet, he might be able to reverse heart disease, but that motherfucker's diet is for shit. It's literally and figuratively, like it is just a disaster to follow. I mean, I had like $400 worth of produce in my basket just for like a week of eating Furman style. And I was like, listen, dude,
if
this
was
might
Whole
be
Foods, it was probably a bag.
Yeah, I was like, if this is like the way you can live forever, I'm not interested. Like, this is too much fucking work, and that's just buying it. Then you have to cook that shit. It takes fucking 9 hours to cook a meal, like because it's like fucking a torture. Yeah, it's literal torture. I'm like, oh my god, I feel like I did something wrong. Like, who's making me do this? Oh yeah, I am. No, sorry. Like, sorry. But like, how hard is your
it's not hard.
To follow? Like, and it seems
we've
like
got
0
people
to
eating
8
real
weeks,
food nutrition, and that's what we're teaching them is the acronym SURF for your food. Simply eat real food. If you stick it on the counter and it doesn't go bad after 3 weeks, it ain't real food. And so they're buying their food at the grocery store. There's nothing sexy about it. It's proteins, fruits, and vegetables. Right. That's it. Okay, for those 5 weeks. And so all they have to do is change some habits over those 5 weeks that aren't hard to do. It's like he was saying, just changing that mindset, and just they've got to adapt a new identity, and that identity is that, you know what, I'm somebody who's willing to change what I'm doing for only 5 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not hard.
That really is that we played around with.
We need a shirt that says I can do anything.
And I could do anything for 5 weeks. I've done many things for 5 weeks. Yeah, you should. I mean, and then like, on the back, it's like, what have you done for 5 weeks? Or I've done worse for 5 weeks. Like there's, and I certainly have done worse for 5 weeks.
Something that happens inside of you. Now, doing something hard and not overcoming it isn't virtuous, right? But if you take on something hard and you complete that task, you're never the same person again. No. And so I think a lot of the clients we attract and how we educate and teach, and a part of our protocols and the way we interact with our clients is contingent on that mindset. People have to be at a point of enough pain where they're sick and tired of looking and feeling this way. And they're looking at, how does this look? What's the risk to me and my family if I don't get my shit together? And I think those are the conversations that we're able to have with. Now we do it differently now, because before it was a clinical operation, we're doing one-on-one consults, but now in group settings through our master classes, our weight loss challenges online, we're able to have those conversations and at least challenge the client in front of us and say, it is 5 weeks, but there's never going to be a perfect time to do anything. You could do anything if you really want to do it. People will do anything they want to do if it's really something that they want to do. So I like the 5 weeks though, because it seems like the compliancy, once we settled in on the 5 weeks, the compliancy has been really, really solid.
And one of the things, and we didn't do it this way on purpose, it just happened, is that we said, okay, we're the kind of guys that are like, all right, if we're going to get a desired result, we're going to do it exactly this way. So we put it together that way. And once these folks go now through the 5 weeks, they always come back and they're like, you know what, guys, I didn't realize how much time I was putting into just eating and food, whether it was going to the grocery store and buying the food, or if it was going to a restaurant or thinking about food and all these things. And so once we put it together and they're doing it exactly this way, they're like, holy shit, I have so much extra time on my hands because I'm not thinking about what I'm going to be eating, not thinking about what I'm going to be doing. And then now they tell us after the 5 weeks is I'm so much more aware and mindful of what it is that I'm putting into my body. Yeah. So after I've gone through the reset and I went to go put back in whatever they may have eaten before, they're like, you know what? My body just feels like shit. I don't want it anymore, which has been, it's a huge shift for them.
No, it's
right.
Mm.
And that's definitely something like when I do come off of those eating plan things, you know, I do say that there's like almost a stage where I have to like force myself back into certain things. And I make every excuse in the book, man. I've got 2 kids that last time I did this, they were a little younger. And so I'm like, well, you know, what dad doesn't go and have like a churro with his kids? And this is Saturday night or Friday night. And then Sunday night, it's like, well, what dad doesn't get ice cream with their kids? I'm like, the fucking dad who just had a churro last night, you know, I don't know, just out of, off the top of my head, maybe that guy. And then Sunday night, it's like, well, it's Sunday, it's summer, let's go get like frozen yogurt. I'm like, okay, now it's 3 days in a row. And well, my excuse has been my kids all 3 times. Like at what point am I
here's the thing, Matt, like, and you guys know this, you're going to do life
at least on that third day.
I'll go with the guy who's a little less high strung, who likes to have a glass of wine, right? Who likes to take life a little less serious. And I'll go with that guy living longer than the rigid, strict, you know, this person who can't even get out of their own way because they're so freaking linear. And I was that guy. Yeah, there is. And I was that guy.
Yeah,
so
that's the Brian Johnson.
There almost a pathology within that?
And we like to drink incredible wine all over the world and enjoy culture and food. So we built this thing out because you can do life on a great metabolism or you can do it on a really shitty metabolism. And the people who have a great metabolism have a lot better life because you get the flexibility and the luxury of not having to be perfect. Because if you have to be perfect, we already know how that works out. Perfection does not work, and it's riddled with guilt and shame, and it's just not healthy mentally. Yeah. So I think we're setting people free from having to be shackled with this guilt of, I didn't eat perfect enough, or I'm lazy and I don't go to the gym enough. It's not because you don't work out enough. It's not because you don't eat perfect enough. You got a shitty metabolism, probably to no fault of your own. Do something about it. Let's help you with that. Life is more fun on a great metabolism.
Yeah.
As a recovering Roman Catholic.
You're welcome, Tom. You're welcome.
That was so freeing.
Yes. Well, maybe it's a little bit your fault.
Yeah.
It's not my fault.
Yeah, it's not my
Yeah.
It's a little my fault.
It's a little your fault. Yeah.
I'll accept a little blame.
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I love the message because honestly, back to what I was saying at the top of the show, like the reason why I did those things and didn't imagine them as hard is because I was simply in shape. There was no like, it wasn't like I wasn't training for something.
Equally heavy lift for him.
Well, it wasn't like I was training for something. You know, people they're like, oh, look how healthy I am. I ran a marathon. Yeah. You know who the least healthy people I know are? Marathon runners. They're fucking tragically unhealthy, right? And so like the fact that you can go do a marathon is really not super impressive to everybody. And like my first Ironman, by the way, and I fucking love this shirt and I don't know why I haven't gotten it. This woman shows up at the athlete briefing and she's got a shirt that says marathons are cute. And I fucking loved it. I'm like, because, and it sort of reinforced what I do professionally. Perspective is everything, right? Like, and so from her perspective, a marathon's like a warm up. Like, you know, it's literally 1/3 of what she's going to do that day. Right. Like, so it's not impressive, but like, you know, like that level of adherence to that, like the Brian Johnsons, I got money on him dying before any of us, because that fucking dude.
I can't wait until some of the biohackers start dropping.
Yeah, I mean,
we should go to their funeral and smoke a cigarette.
Yeah, it's fucking exhausting. Like, I mean,
oh god, that's so horrible.
Yeah. And the irony of him
40.
is, I watched a YouTube video, or in that documentary, I think that Tom and I watched. We watched a guy who, was a blogger or a vlogger. He went and did his protocol.
It was like some Vice guy.
Yeah,
he was a
did it for like
a
month, and the guy like lost a ton of weight, muscle mass, fucking. He was like,
and he clearly scaled it back, right? He's like, I can't afford to eat. I can't afford to hire a personal chef to weigh out exactly 4 walnuts.
But the guy got done with it, and he's like, dude, I gained all this muscle. I feel great, but at what cost? This is exhausting. It's a full-time job. And the irony is Brian's whole thing is, I'm doing this so that you don't have to think about it. You just have to put the supplements in order on the counter and just go down and do it. I'm like,
walk down the line. Yeah.
What delusion are you living in, dude? Even if I used your formula, I hit print on your PDF and taped it to my kitchen and did that all myself, shit's still exhausting. Yeah. Like, I mean, can you imagine living like that?
It's a full day of taking care of yourself.
Right. And I'm like, and that's what Tom and I used to make fun of the Ben Greenfields of the world, because they're like, oh, I wake up with structured water and I do this.
3-hour meditation. And then I go in the sauna for an hour and a half. And then it's like, oh, that's great. I guess somebody's sending you all that shit, because the rest of us got to work.
Yeah. He posted his like wish list or not wish list, but the mechanical list of his structured water maker. So it like comes out of the ground, it demineralizes, blah, blah, blah. It goes through 25 steps. I looked at it. It cost $35,000 to recreate that system. I was like, seriously, brother,
immediately out of everybody's budget?
So not only you out of everybody's budget who's actually interested in that, but all the guys who could afford it are like,
on a water machine. If that kills me, then I'm good with that.
Tell me where I can buy it.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly right. You're like, come on, man. It's got to be like semi-practical, right? So, listen, I know you got to run. I don't want to keep you, but
got to catch a plane.
Yeah, you got to get out of here. I don't want to make you late. But listen, before we leave, how do we find you? How do we do this?
Let's do it. So an action step that people can take right now.
We can do this again.
metabolismscore.com. They can take that quiz that you did, figure out where their metabolism's at, and then they can find all of our stuff at thehappyhealthylife.com.
Oh, look at
that.
That's
awesome. And I love Tom's playing with our new toy that puts up URLs.
Wow.
I was trying to actually get it done beforehand, so I didn't look like I was not paying attention. But
we, AI, man, AI does all this shit for us. We'll have the transcript on there and everything. And there you go. Now it's official. There you go. No, I love it. Thank you guys for sharing time with us. On a personal note, apparently I'm going to have to call you guys because, apparently I'm 2/3 of the way dead. I got to figure this out.
We started this show to find an alternative source of income, and all Matt's been doing
is spending more, spending all of my money. Yeah. On random shit, yeah.
Hey, Matt,
funny, I got to do yoga nidra with this guru in India now.
Yeah, 100%.
Dawson, have you heard of Metabolic?
We actually have somebody who gave me a yoga nidra. We're having her on the show. What?
Have you been to that site? No, it's just a random
site
that we really happen to like.
No, I did. Is that yours?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute. Yes, I have heard of that. Didn't I already get a test from that? Yeah, exactly. No, I've done all that. But like to Tom's point, I mean, I'm the guy who gets out of here and goes, oh, wait, 10 is not the perfect score. Wait, hold on. Stop the press. I got shit to do.
He was hoping he was a 10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10 out of 10. Right. Dude, Matt, you're awesome. You can't
you're killing it. You'll live forever. Everything's going to be great.
Oh, I'm about to get into a fight with my insurance company right now about a CT angiogram because of a guy who was on our show, a cardiologist, that he found out my lipo A score was 191. And he goes, yeah, man. So listen, this is what I'm going to tell you. When you get off the show, call your doctor and schedule a CT angiogram and do it like immediately. And so I did, of course, and found out that it's an $850 test that's not covered by health insurance. I was like, seriously? Like and then I looked it up and I started doing it. I'm like, okay, so it's an $850 test, which, by the way, if I can correct my lifestyle based on the results of that test, it would save my insurance company a couple $10 million in the worst case scenario. Like, so the fact that, and that liquid biopsy, that's $1,000 test, right? That test is $1,000, but it gives you ability to scan for cancer at basically pre-stage 1 when it's like literally hasn't even formed a mass yet. It's just replicating. And that DNA that sheds in the replication process is what this tests for. So it's like a really crazy test, but it's not FDA approved. So it costs $1,000, even though me finding out stage 1 even of any one of like 57 cancers
or even pre-cancer
would save my insurance company a gazillion dollars.
But then
and then when you put that at
making
scale,
any money.
it's trillions probably over
stuff.
a short period of time.
It should almost be mandated. Yeah.
No, I get it, but we're trying to get the CEO. By the way, if you know the CEO of Grail or anybody who does know the CEO of Grail, we want to have him on the show because I want to hear what his story is.
It's a different discussion for a different day. I would argue completely different point on early detection. Because if anything the only thing we've done in the last 50 years with cancer research is provide more ways to find it, and it's worse, and we're not changing mortality rates. So I don't know that finding it sooner is moving the needle on mortality. That's a different conversation. Yeah. But anyway, we'll leave it alone for now.
Okay,
but,
that's a fair point.
That's a valid point.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Yeah.
We'll leave it alone for now, but that's cool. Yeah.
We're inviting you back, guys.
Yeah, guys, and I talked to you about our summit that we're trying to put together. I'd love to have you guys a part of that. So this won't be the last time we talk to you for sure.
Thank you guys.
Awesome conversation, fellas. I mean, seriously, I can't thank you enough.
All right, well, thank you guys.
Right, enjoy the weekend, fellas. Take care.
Take care.
Be subversive, irreverent.
Health is wealth, but you knew that.
Everybody knows that.
But so is following us on social media at Irreverent Health. And check out our website for more exclusive content at irreverenthealth.com.
Oh, I like this.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of Irreverent Health.